Hello people of the internet. Welcome to Paint to Life, episode 22, the YouTube channel where we take tiny plastic miniatures, throw some acrylic paint on them, and breathe life into them with storytelling so you might learn something new on the subject or take it to use as your own in your own campaign. Tonight is the conclusion of the two-part series of the two dragon gods, the lawful good Bahamut and the lawful evil Tiamat. I will be repainting a WizKids Icon of the Realms Tiamat miniature. If this is your first time here at Paint to Life, welcome. If you enjoy my content and my storytelling, please like and subscribe below. It really helps support the channel. If you're a returning face to the channel, welcome back. I'm Atank. Let's get painting. May I present to you Tiamat, the patron deity of all chromatic dragons. She has one head for each primary color of the most common species of chromatics: red, blue, green, black, and white. Each head is able to operate entirely independently of the others and has all the powers of a member of the respective race of dragon kind. Tiamat is arrogant, greedy, hateful, spiteful, and vain. She never forgives any kind of slight and is focused on obtaining more power and wealth. She disdains mortals, regarding them as mere disposable tools in her schemes. When needed, she is charming and whimsical, but her self-serving reptilian nature eventually betrays her true motives in time. Previously on Paint to Life.
There was a mighty god of all dragon kind named Io, also known as Asgarath. Now, Io was really good friends with the over-god named Ao. Asgarath, in all his arrogance, faced alone a primordial named Irikus, the Lord of Terror, who killed him by cleaving him in two using his adamantium great axe. Two new dragon deities arose. The one, a platinum-scaled Bahamut. The other, a five-headed dragon named Tiamat. Before his titan body even hit the ground, the two new draconic deities had already started fighting each other. Bahamut and Tiamat could put aside their differences and actually breed. Their child would be transcendent. It would ultimately correct the balance of gods and deities, moving them away from the mortals and back towards the dragon's favor.
And now, the conclusion.
Cuprum the Copper Dragon is playing chess with his herald Talon Swift in a clearing, using captured kobolds as chess pieces. Talon is complaining that Cuprum is taking too long as he is easily distracted and the kobolds are starting to wander off the board. Suddenly from the distance, a disoriented dragonborn wanders onto their game board. She's strange in appearance with 5 horns on her head, each a different color, and has jet black eyes. When questioned, she tries to talk, but they can't understand what she's saying, and the noise she makes startles all of the kobolds, who scattering in all directions, effectively ending their chess game. Fascinating, says Cuprum. From the looks of her, I'd peg her as a follower of Tiamat of some kind, but I've never heard a noise like that. The mysterious dragonborn stares blankly ahead through her midnight black eyes. Let us take her to Dambrath to seek an audience with a wise dragon. From inside a magnificent tower in Kathir, the capital of Dambrath, behind a large dark iron door guarded by 2 lycanthropes, Talon Swift, Cuprum the Copper Dragon, and their mysterious dragonborn wanderer await an audience with the guardian of the country of Dambrath, the gold dragon known as Pandora. Talon had never seen a gold dragon before, and therefore was somewhat disappointed when a beautiful woman with flowing golden hair emerged from the back of the meeting hall. This was Pandora in her human form. Pandora welcomes them to her home and apologizes for being a little distracted. She's been trying for weeks now to contact their deity Bahamut to no avail, and she's getting slightly upset. Now, Talon and Cuprum explain to Pandora what they found and their belief that she is a cultist of Tiamat. When Pandora sees the Dragonborn, she gets right into its face. She stares into its eyes, black like the void, for almost a minute. Then suddenly it opens its mouth and emits that noise one more time and startles everyone, including Pandora. She's awoken as if from a trance. "You fools, this is no cultist." She draws an epic sword and says she's the very embodiment of Tiamat. She calls guards. "Guards! Bind this creature, take it to the dungeons, and let it be known as far as the raven flies that we are going to execute a great evil later this week." Struggling to get a good vantage point was difficult for the silver dragon Argentus. This was not the first time he regretted his decision to take the form of a shorter than average elf when he chose his most recent guise. He had been traveling through the country of Dambrath when he heard of a great judgment and execution that was going to take place. He knew that justice in Dambrath was measured and decided by a gold dragon, and he couldn't imagine what crime must have been committed to warrant such an execution, as gold dragons typically were against such behavior. The female wanderer was brought to the center of the gladiatorial Colosseum and chained to a large stone pillar surrounded by sand. Cuprum, the large copper dragon, was clung to a wall and watched on. Pandora in her human form came out and proclaimed to all those in attendance that this was not a regular creature, but an avatar of Tiamat, the evil goddess, and that she would be executed for her crimes against humanity. When Argentus heard this, he leapt from his seat in the stands and landed in the arena itself. So you are saying that this creature has done nothing to warrant an execution other than to simply exist? Pandora responded, "It is exactly her mere existence that warrants it. Now move aside, Master Elf, lest you get scorched." Pandora then transforms into a massive gold dragon and reared up on her hind legs, preparing her fire breath. "Sorry, I can't let you do this, beautiful." Argentus then reverts back into his true silver dragon form. Pandora fires her fiery breath directly at the avatar of Tiamat. However, Argentus's icy cold breath slams into it, nullifying the flames. Pandora, incensed, grabs the silver dragon, and the two metallic dragons begin to grapple in the arena while the crowd looks on in awe. As the massive metallic dragons begin ferociously swiping and biting at each other, Cuprum performs a wicked leap from his vantage point and lands right into the fray, separating the two dragons. He then says aloud, "Enough! Obviously this warrants some form of adjudication before you two kill each other. I know a girl." The great bronze dragon Kalina, Lady of the Blue, was perched high atop a cliff along the Sword Coast, scanning the horizon, notably the surrounding ocean, for any signs of piracy. She was a fanatical follower of justice and law, and when her keen hearing picked up the sounds of dragon wings beating, she turned and was surprised to see a gold dragon carrying a bound dragonborn woman in her claws, a copper dragon with a rider on its back, and a silver dragon bringing up the rear. Cuprum, her lips scowled. "I told you I never wanted to see you again after last time. I couldn't fly right for a week." Cuprum winced a cautious smile when Pandora took over the conversation to bring Kalina up to speed with the matter at hand. "She expects you to agree to execute this innocent creature when clearly there's no evidence for such a judgment," sounded Argentus. "The defendant says nothing at all, except the noise, which is even louder than it was before. I cannot adjudicate this, as the witness must be allowed to plead his case, and clearly none of us are able to understand her. Did you try using magic?" "Yes," says Pandora, "but the sounds she is uttering are beyond all spells that we could muster." "Then we must find someone who is skilled at diction." Talon Swift raises an eyebrow with a coy look across his face as he winks at the bronze dragon. "Diction, the style of enunciation in speaking or singing, you pleb," snapped Kalina. "Not far to the south in Kalimshan is someone who can help us." High above the Kalimshan desert floor, the brass dragon Luminous and his entourage were laying out atop silk pillows, reading books, and toking the best weed from the four corners of the continent, when suddenly lookouts alerted him that there were visitors arriving atop the plateau. Barely able to contain his excitement, he raced to the roof. It wasn't often Luminous had visitors, but he couldn't even remember the last time one of his draconic cousins had paid him a visit. However, his excitement ceased immediately when he saw the avatar of Tiamat with them. "Then they weren't just dreams, but premonitions," he said. "What are you talking about?" asked Argentus. "I saw a great gold worm carrying an agent of evil high over a great crater, and now you've arrived. Do you know what she says, Lord Keeper?" "Give me a moment." Luminous then peered into the dark pools that were her eyes. It's an ancient form of draconic dialect. Also, it's not just one voice. She speaks as 5 voices all at once. A cacophony of language. Asgarath Crater. She speaks Asgarath Crater over and over. Then that is where we must go to end this mystery once and for all. Twilight was falling as the 5 metallic dragons reached their destination. Cuprum was alone, as he had left Talon Swift back at the spire. This was no place for a mere man. Near the base of a massive volcano that reached high into the sky inside the crater were 5 chromatic dragons standing behind a platinum-scaled dragonborn. They landed approximately 200 feet from the chromatics and lined up. 10 dragons, each sizing up their enemies in both size and stature. Claws scraped, throats swallowed roars. Fire and frost rose from nostrils, acid dripped, electricity crackled, gas billowed. This was a tense dragon standoff, the likes of which had never been seen before. Each wanderer, the platinum-scaled Bahamut and the 5-horned Tiamat, appeared to gain sentience, more than they had thus far, and while their children were preoccupied, began to slowly walk towards one another.
I knew you had to be behind this treachery. Your evil knows no bounds.
Our treachery? What of the stories my spies tell of your baseless execution you had planned for our Dragon Queen?
There was no execution. However, the trial hasn't ended yet.
And what gives you the right to demand a trial of a goddess? Perhaps I should not have interfered in sparing her at all. Then I would have murdered everyone you have ever known for even being present.
Hey, you talk a big game, but we're not as easy to push around as the people you enslave.
You dare speak? So duplicitous in your behavior that you're constantly running from both friend and foe alike? Oh, the Dark Shadow speaks. I'm surprised, although I've spoken to undead who have more charisma than you. You dare insult my brethren? I will track you down and rip you apart in your sleep when you least expect it. Silence! 2 godly voices boom in unison at their respective kin. Standing between the oblivious dragons, 6 feet apart, are the avatar of Bahamut and Tiamat. They take another few steps closer. Reach up and intertwine fingers. Look into each other's eyes. A mutual fascination neither can explain. The first time in millennia where they could just stop fighting. Some scholars theorize that if Bahamut and Tiamat could put aside their differences and breed, their child would be transcendent, ultimately correcting the balance among the gods in Faerun back towards the dragon's favor. Tiamat suddenly bares all her teeth and tears into the side of Bahamut's neck, causing him to gasp in shock. Bright light shines out from the wound. Sorry, brother, today is not your lucky day. Sister, you never disappoint, choked Bahamut as he raised his tail behind her and, like a spear, pierced it through her back and into her heart, causing her to scream aloud in a roar that sounded like 5 different roars at once. The chromatic and metallic dragons cried out in fear and took to the skies as fast as they could, escaping the deafening roar that was building inside the crater. Then, an explosion rocked the surface of Faerun, completely leveling the Asgoroth crater and the volcano within it. Shockwaves from this could be felt 10,000 miles away. Bahamut suddenly awoke, whole, in his palace in the heavenly realm of Mount Celestia, at peace. Tiamat as well suddenly awoke, still trapped on Avernus, but nevertheless whole and enraged. Somewhere, the god of gods, Ao, looking at his universe, groaned with disappointment. He began to think of another way to hopefully bring back his lost friend Io. He would try again, as he always does, maybe in another 10,000 years. Tiamat, queen of evil dragonkind. Alright, that's it. What did you think of the second half of my story of Tiamat and Bahamut? Let me know in the comments below. I love to read them. Here she is, all decked up for the shelf. Now is a great time to give miniature painting a try. Head on down to your friendly local gaming store, pick up some brushes and some paints, tell them Atank sent you, and paint along with some of the many Norzel's marvelous miniatures we've painted together on Paint to Life. I release new story videos every Saturday with the subsequent painting video the following Tuesday. I also have Work in Progress Wednesday on Instagram. You can go to painttolife.com for all those links as well as in the description below. Thank you very much for tuning in. Again, please subscribe if you haven't yet. Share the channel if you like it. I'm Atank. Wash your hands, people. It just like at the gym.
Dude, it's no good.
At the gym.
I'm dropping it now.
Don't drop it.
I have to.
She has to go around one more half time.
Mike.
Don't. Oh shit! I wasn't even recording it.